Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm here to talk about series. I'm going to be talking about the series that I haven't finished, but that I would really like to finish eventually. If you want to check out my series I'm never going to finish video, I posted that a couple of weeks ago, and I will leave that linked up on the screen, and you can keep an eye out for my series I have finished video that will be up a bit later on. And I'm going to make this easy on myself, and I'm just going to use the series I want to finish page in my bullet journal to get through this. I thought we would start with duologies or books that are going to have a companion novel first. So first of all, what I think is just going to be a duology, we have the Checquey Files by Daniel O'Malley. So I read The Rook when I was still back in high school. It is a bizarre adult urban fantasy, paranormal fantasy kind of series that I really loved, and it took forever for the sequel Stiletto to come out, but now it is out. And I really have no excuse not to be jumping on that. Stiletto is on my top 15 to read this year, so I will absolutely be getting to it, but I really want to finish the Checquey Files because it is such a unique series. Another duology I have yet to finish is the Monsters of Verity series by Victoria Schwab. This is book 1, The Savage Song, which I read and really enjoyed, but I haven't gotten to Our Dark Duet yet, which came out about a month ago. This is kind of a bizarre and dark series about a world in which violence has begun to breed actual monsters, and the main characters are really interesting, so I would love to finish off this series. Plus, I love Victoria Schwab's writing so much. I would also really like to finish the Nemesis duology by April Daniels. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a duology from what I could find online. It's going to be a duology. The first book was Dreadnought. I read it back in January. It is a fabulous story about a trans lesbian superhero. It's full of great diverse characters and it's a ton of fun. Sovereign, the second book, came out last month. I already have my hands on a copy. In fact, I'm halfway through reading it and I would really like to finish it so I can wrap up this duology as well. Yet another V.E. Schwab series that I would like to read. I want to read the next book in the Villains series. I actually don't know how many books are going to be in this series at this point. It's kind of remarkable that we're actually getting a sequel. Vicious was the first V.E. Schwab book I ever read. I think it's a phenomenal story about morally gray people and superheroes, and it's just excellent. We've kind of been hearing word about us getting a sequel, and now it looks like it's actually happening. She's writing it. I'm so excited. So this is going to be a while before the second one in the series comes out, but I will definitely be reading it when it does. There's also Honey Girl by Lisa Freeman. The first book was Honey Girl, and it is a story about the 1970s and girls and surfing, and there's a queer main character. It's one of the most bizarre books I've ever read, but it is getting a companion novel, and because the first one was so bizarre, it makes me even more interested in seeing if the second one is as bizarre as the first. I'm invested just for the weirdness factor. Another duology I would like to conclude is The Abyss Surrounds Us by Emily Skrutskie. It's about futuristic lesbian pirates and sea monsters, which, if that doesn't sound like everything you've always wanted, I don't know what to say. But the second book, The Edge of the Abyss, is out, and after how much I loved The Abyss Surrounds Us, I really want to see what the second book has in store for how the world is going to grow and how the relationship is going to grow. Also getting a companion novel is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzi Lee. This book is a romp. It takes place in the 1700s, and it's about this guy going on a fantastical road trip with his sister and his best friend Percy, who he thinks he has like this ridiculous unrequited crush on. It's an excellent male-male romance. But Monty's sister Felicity is getting her own books. I'm not even remembering what it's called right now. It might be The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. That might be what it's called, which sounds great. Felicity is ace, and she had like a very Hermione vibe going in this book, so I'm interested to see what she is like in a spin-off novel. And the last book that's getting a companion novel that I really want to read is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire. Sáenz. The first book is a fantastic book about two Mexican-American boys falling in love, and it's just gorgeously written. It's very poetic and flowery and just it's very good, and I'm really excited to see what a companion novel has in store because it wrapped up and it felt very wrapped up, but I want to know more about Ari and Dante, so I'm willing to go with it. Now let's get into some longer series that I would really like to finish. First up, we have the Mirrorworld series. The first book is Reckless. I read it years ago. This is a very all of the Grimm's fairy tales come together kind of story with two brothers. They get sucked into a mirror world that's full of dark fairy tales, basically. Any of you who've ever watched my channel know that I adore Cornelia Funke. so much. I love so many of her books, and I've never continued on with the series, but I would really like to. I don't know how many are out at this point. I think what I need to do is reread this and read a second one and then reevaluate if I want to read any others that have come out, but I do want to reread this and read another one because it's like dark fairy tales, and that's very much in my wheelhouse. There's also the Zeros series by Scott Westerfeld, Margo Lanagan, and Deborah Biancotti. The first book, Zeros, was a super adventurous, fun journey about these 6 superpowered kids coming together. I might like superpowers. That's just coming to me right now. But they're all kind of morally questionable people. They're not heroes, they're Zeros. It was a really interesting first book, and I believe it's going to be a trilogy. I actually own the sequel Swarm, and I just haven't gotten to it yet, and I don't know when the third book is going to come out. Probably soon, honestly. But after how much I liked Zeros, I really want to continue on with Swarm and then eventually pick up the third book in the trilogy. Okay, last V.E. Schwab book, I promise. I really want to finish the Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab, because A Darker Shade of Magic was one of my absolute favorite books of last year. The second book, A Gathering of Shadows, is going to be one of my favorite books of this year, and I should finish off the trilogy. I really, really need to finish off the trilogy. This is a series about parallel worlds connected by 4 parallel Londons. There's magic and travel, and the main character is the one guy who can move between the different worlds. The second book has element battles, and pirates, and bisexuality. And I even own A Conjuring of Light, which is the third book, so I have no excuse besides the fact that this book is huge and is probably going to take me forever. But next month, if I don't start reading this book next month, you all need to start yelling at me. I'm very, very serious about this. I would really like to read the next 4 books in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. I love the Percy Jackson series, and I really enjoyed this introduction to this 5-book series. It's very similar in that it's about mythology, and it's really funny and full of great likable characters, but this one is significantly more diverse than Percy Jackson was. Also, it starts to handle possibly a different kind of mythology. It was a great first book in the series, and I would really like to get into it and finish the rest of the 4 books. I also want to continue forward with the Shadowshaper series by Danielle José Older. Shadowshaper was a super interesting young adult paranormal fantasy. Shadowshaping itself is a type of magic that infuses ancestral spirits into art and to music and to storytelling, and the main character finds out that her family has some connection to these shadow shapers. Super original, full of really interesting and likable characters. Shadow House Fall, the sequel to this book, is coming out in a couple of months, and I would really like to read it and any future books that come out in the series. It's just really, really unique. I really, really want to read the rest of the Sidekick Squad. Again, superheroes, but like, diverse, queer superheroes. That's all I want. Now Your Sidekick is a fabulous book about a Chinese-Vietnamese bisexual girl. She's the daughter of the town's 2 superheroes, and then she winds up getting an internship with the town's supervillains. Unless this is the first video you've ever watched by me, you know how much passion I have for this series, and for the fact that Not Your Villain comes out in, like, 2 months. The next book is going to be about Jess's friend Bells, and I think it's going to be great. And actually, I did an author interview with C.B. Lee a couple of months ago that will be going up very soon on my channel, so keep an eye out for that, and know that the pre-orders for Not Your Villain are now open, which is super exciting. I also want to read the 3rd book in the Wayward Children Companion series. This is actually book 2, not book 1. Somehow I don't own book 1. You may have heard of Every Heart a Doorway, which is a story about children who go through doors to other worlds, and then when they come back to our world, they no longer feel like they belong here. It's basically a portal fantasy that deals with the trauma of being a portal fantasy, which is incredible. I adored the first book. I adored the second book. Seanan McGuire has some of the most beautiful writing in the world, and can we look at the cover for Beneath the Sugar Sky? Can we just look at it because it's so pretty? This is easily one of my favorite series of all time, and so I can't believe I have to wait another full year before I get the 3rd book in this companion series. I would also like to finish the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This is a series that I started pretty early on in BookTube, and I just haven't ever finished. I have read the first 3 books, Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress, and that is it. I own Winter. There it is, this honking piece of book. This is 800 pages, so that's intimidating, but I also have to read Fairest, which is the novella that comes between Cress and Winter, and then I'm gonna have to read, like, the novella collection, and then there's also the graphic novel series that's coming out. This is just a very intimidating series because it feels like every time I take a step forward, 8 more books come out. In case you don't know, this is a fantasy, sci-fi, fairy tale retelling series. The first book is about a cyborg named Cinder. They all follow different fairy tales, and they're really interesting and they're really fun. but they're very intimidating if you're on this end of things. And I would like to finish them someday, it's just taking me a while. I want to continue on in the Dragon's Blade series by Michael R. Miller. This is the first book, The Reborn King. The Reborn King is really interesting. It's about this world in which there are dragons, but they have been reverted to human form. And the guy who's supposed to be king of the dragons is a huge jerk. And then when he's mortally wounded, he is de-aged back into a child, and he has to grow up again, hopefully to become a better person and to become the rightful king so he can fight off like a demon horde. It's a really interesting high fantasy series with cool side characters, and I really enjoyed reading this first book, and then I just got Veiled Intentions a few months ago from the author and haven't picked it up yet. I don't think this is going to be the last in the series. I think that there's probably another one that's going to be added on, but again, if I haven't started reading this in a couple of months, it's really okay for you guys to yell at me. Do that, please. And the final series that I want to mention is the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas. So the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, I read a couple of months ago. I then read the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, back in May, and I have not picked up A Court of Wings and Ruin just yet. But after how much I really liked the character development of Achamoth, I would love to finish off this series and to see where a lot of the characters go, because that's what's keeping me invested. It's not so much the storyline, it's much more the characters, and as they've developed in certain relationships, that's what I'm interested in. So we'll see how long it takes me to get to ACOWAR, but I would like to get to it before the end of the year, even though it's also enormous. Okay guys, there you go. Those are all of the series that I would really like to finish. What do you think of my choices? Have you finished any of these series, and what are your thoughts? What do I need to prioritize? What can I maybe not prioritize? Let me know all of those things down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!